If you've ever been the victim of a crime, you'll understand the impact that is often felt long after the act, no matter how small the infraction. Through a month-long series of events, nonprofit organizations are coming together to urge crime victims and their families to step up and speak up.
I have this thing about Lori not being forgotten. Her dad and I are probably the only ones that will never forget. But it's important to me that people not forget Lori and who she was.
So in 2004, 1 year after their daughter, Lori Brown, was tragically murdered, Wayne and Linda Brown started thinking of ways to keep their daughter's memory alive.
So we got a hold of Kennesaw, and they just took the ball and ran with it. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Kennesaw State University helped the Browns establish the Lori Brown Memorial Scholarship. Wayne Brown remembers the first recipient.
She was a very gregarious individual, and just it was a joy. And she has since graduated, and so we have the photograph. We keep it on the shelf over here. So yeah, each year, going to the ceremony that they have, the luncheon, and seeing a young person awarded this, and I think what you're doing is you're creating something good out of something that was very, very terrible.
1 year after the first scholarship was presented, Linda Brown created a website all about Lori's life and death.
On Friday night, he was charged with Lori Brown and Cynthia Williams' murders at this model home in West Cobb a week ago today.
In 2003, Lori Brown, a real estate agent, and her business partner, Cynthia Williams, were robbed and murdered by Stacey Humphreys, who is currently on death row.
It's indescribable. It's actually a physical pain, and it's actually a heartbreaking pain that you can't, it's hard to describe to someone else unless they've lost a child. And I've had people say to me, oh, well, I lost my mom, or I lost my sister. And I'm not taking away from that. That's very real. I've lost both my mom and dad, so I know it is. But that pain of losing my mom and dad was nothing like losing my daughter. That's my flesh and blood. I raised her from a baby. I watched her grow. And I was looking forward to seeing the rest of her life, getting married and having a family, and all that was taken away.
In Cobb County last year, we touched over 50,000 people. Now, that could mean that we provided a phone call today or education tomorrow or went to court with a victim on another day. But we touched over 50,000 victims in Cobb County last year.
Yeah.
So she made me this book and she colored it and stapled it.
Kim McCoy is the director of the Victim Witness Unit for the District Attorney's Office in the Cobb Judicial Circuit.
Georgia has a Crime Victims Bill of Rights, and under that Victims Bill of Rights, victims have the right to participate in the criminal justice system and to be notified of case occurrences as they occur in the criminal justice system. And it's my unit's responsibility to make that happen.
According to the Browns, McCoy and her office provided that and so much more.
Without her and her office, I don't know what we would have done, because we were lost. We were just lost.
And I think that keeps you from slipping into this helplessness. I think that keeps you, by knowing what's coming up, knowing what you can do to be prepared in terms of, okay, I know this, what's going to happen next, what is this about, what is this for? Because I had a ton of questions. I mean, I really kept them pretty busy.
We deal with many victims who come in and who say this needs to change and this needs to happen and this isn't fair and why is this way? Because in reality, in the criminal justice system, while victims do have rights, the defendant still has many more rights than the victims do, which is the basis of the criminal justice system to ensure that defendants receive a fair trial. So the Browns were classic of families coming in saying those sorts of things. The difference in the Browns and in other families is that they actually acted upon that.
In fact, the Browns were instrumental in helping to change legislation that determines what victims and their families can say in the courtroom.
For example, in our case, we're talking about two families. And we were talking about several people from each family that would testify. The judge could have said, I will only hear one person from each family. And she would have been within the state law. That got changed. The judge has no more control over that.
While monumental, that ruling did little to take away the Browns' pain.
I would have never dreamed that something like this would have happened to my family. Though things like this happen to other people. You know, she worked in a great part of town in a nice community. Things like that don't happen. And so I learned that right away that crime doesn't care who you are or where you live or what you're doing. It can happen to anybody.
And because crime is universal, the entire month of April is dedicated not only to the memory of victims like Lori Brown, but also the millions of families left behind.
On April 20th, the District Attorney's Office and the YWCA of Northwest Georgia, which is our only domestic violence and sexual assault programs serving victims here in Cobb County. So the YWCA and the District Attorney's Office is partnering to present a Crime Victims' Rights Vigil. That's at noon at 12 o'clock on Friday, April 20th in the Board of Commissioners room in our county building right downtown in Marietta. The purpose of that vigil will be to highlight victims' rights.
This has been a really tough 12 months.
And just as she did at a candlelight vigil nearly 8 years ago, Linda Brown will continue to keep the memory of her daughter alive.
Because I feel like that I'm kind of far enough along through this journey that I might be able to say something or do something to help someone else.
And indeed, they probably have. We want to thank the Browns for retelling their story. Here are some more details about Victims' Rights Awareness Vigil. The vigil is Friday, April 20th, noon to 1 at the Commissioners' Meeting Room in Marietta. There are many other events that are going on around the metro Atlanta area and the state of Georgia, so visit our website for the other observances. A beloved children's